part of like some of the goals of USAID, for example, unabashedly were, avoid migration, right, into the US. And if you are investing in coffee farmers to stay on their land and giving them just enough to survive and do that, which already was questionable, then there's less of a chance for those farmers to come, migrate to the US, right? Now that's taken away. And again, it's like, well, who cares? We have quote unquote strong borders, so it doesn't matter, right? Like, what are they going to do now? I don't know. But there's, consequences of taking away these development funds that we don't see what they're going to be, but then okay, now you're going to have more fundraising for, immigrant communities. So there's just so many impacts, right, of this, like this world, and you do one thing and it has another impact. And so, yeah, I don't know, will it survive in an adapted way? Probably. What will it look like? I honestly have no idea.
Have you been thinking about starting a coffee side hustle? Our brand new Start a Coffee Side Hustle Mastermind Group is launching this August. A 3-month online program designed for new or upcoming coffee business owners anywhere in the world. You'll define your business fundamentals, shape your business blueprint, and learn how to navigate the coffee industry in 2025 small scale, including how to use tools like ChatGPT for smarter planning. It's a grounded, guided way to get started with the support of people who have done it many, many times before. Apply now at mapperforward.coffee/group coaching. Check the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is unfortunately the last episode of what has been a really informative podcast series that has left me with a million more questions that we're not going to have time to answer, Nora. So you're going to have to come back on the podcast at some point, I hope, so that we can continue the conversation. This has been really fascinating. I've learned a lot. You have done this really weird thing, which even though you say like, you've lost your faith in humanity, blah, 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 you've given this hopeful realist, you've given me a little bit more hope about just what's really going on. And I think when we know what's really going on, we can come to some solutions about like, cut the shit, how do we actually fix this? So I'm really grateful for that. And I hope that people do go and check out the Chain Collaborative, because you strike me as a person, and I have no empirical evidence of this, but from the conversations that we've had so far, you strike me as a person who actually wants to like do good. And I hate using that word do good, but like you want to be effective. I guess that's the way I want to put it, is you strike me as someone who's running a nonprofit that you want to be effective in what you do. Am I on the money there that's what you're hoping for?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of our values is integrity, and I think that's something that I hope we have as an organization, and I have, is just integrity. So I think it's a matter of being effective, but it's also a matter of really staying true to our mission as community-led development and being honest with people about what we can do and what we can't do, and when things, if people have questions about why things are done a certain way, or if things don't go the way we hoped, right, to be able to have an honest conversation about that, because it's, if we have integrity, then we should be able to share what's going on and have it be understood, even if something wasn't as effective as we hoped. But yeah, that's I appreciate you saying that, and that's
You're welcome.
Yeah, main thing.
And for clarity, folks, no financial arrangement. The way that Nora and I met was, is it Adam?
It is, yeah.
Adam sent me a LinkedIn message and said, hey, listen, big fan. So shout out to Adam. He listens to the podcast. He listens to me being like freaked out about what the fuck does the nonprofit sector do? And he's like, wait, you have to listen to you have to speak to Nora. I'm like, okay. I said, but I'm going to ask her some hard questions. He's like, yeah, she's absolutely the person that you want to have. So here we are. And I guess my first question when it comes to the idea of will the development sector survive in coffee, I think it's important for us to understand, with everything that you've said and told us about the chaos of development, the development sector, and how hard it is, what drives someone to want to be involved in development work in the first place?
Yeah, no, it's a good that's a good question. I do think it's, as trite as it sounds, I do think it's people that want to do good. I think it's, I I do think it is hard for people to have the kind of impact that they want to have on in coffee, working for a company, in many cases, because they are so sort of driven by whether it's the shareholders or just kind of the bottom line and the need to remain solvent and sell, right? That there's all the focus is put there. And so I do have a lot of people that have come to me and they have asked about like my trajectory and in coffee, and because they want to do more of this kind of work, and they all are coming from companies that you know tend to be smaller, coffee companies that are you know they have direct relationships and they're buying from farmers. um, but that is but their job maybe it's mainly sales, right? Something like this, and they really want to be able to do
Hmm.
more, and there's just not a role, and there's not really like that capacity within those companies to be able to do this kind of work. And so, and to really be a part of it and to really have kind of an active position in the company where you're being able to spark change. And so I think people are really driven by, yeah, being a part of that kind of movement for change, and being able to work on these kinds of development projects. And I feel for people because it's kind of like, you know, our you mentioned like baristas and you mentioned, farmers. We need so many more baristas than we need, sustainability, or maybe
Hmm.
not need, but we have so many more positions of barista than we do, sustainability managers. Same thing with sales. Like we have a need for so many people in sales to sell the coffee. And then it's just not like that many sustainability jobs. And so while there
Hmm.
could be more, there still is going to be this disparity. And so I think people are really driven, by the nonprofit sector because they get to be a part of that work, which you just don't really see, in companies, right? And I've seen people that had the job of sustainability manager, and then slowly, 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 their job got beaten up by marketing, and now they're just kind of the marketing person. Um,
Hmm.
so
Does the broccoli sector experience a broccoli being like other than coffee, right?
yeah,
I'm sorry to broccoli because I always pick on broccoli. But do you think that the broccoli sector has a similar kind of this esoteric kind of mindset that we have in coffee where people are like, I want to go and help, I want to go and fix things. Does the same thing exist in broccoli, do you think?
I don't really think it's the same. I mean, yeah, it's a funny and good
It's
question.
different, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do think that there's probably, where you see a lot of movement is in like worker rights, like with like like
Right.
tomatoes, and you have like the worker movements and things like that we've seen. And so I there's a lot, I think, on the social and the labor side that's maybe more sector, let's say, crop agnostic, right? That you have just like,
Hmm.
trying to support, labor unions and things like that. But as a product that you market it, and in a certain sense, it's kind of like things like that, like broccoli and apples. I mean, they although more people should probably eat broccoli and apples, like they sell themselves. Like you don't have like
Yeah, right.
a commercial for broccoli.
Bananas don't need an advocate.
Yeah. You don't have a commercial for that kind of stuff, but you do, like, you know, you don't just sell coffee anymore. It's not just coffee, right? Like a banana is banana, right? Although there's fair trade banana and different ways that bananas are sold, but in order for coffee to sell, you need like to think about packaging and you need to think about this kind of thing, and
Mhm.
doesn't you don't have that same thing with other foods, and so which complicates the pricing conversation quite a bit. But yeah, so I think it's different.
If there's anything that I have learnt in the almost 9 years we've been doing this podcast, and I have learnt this more since 2020, it's that there is a shadow industry that exists in the coffee industry that are not custodians of the coffee. And to use the analogy of gold, it's the people who are selling the shovels that are making the money in
Mhm,
coffee.
mhm,
And when I look at that whole convoluted, really complex web of the way that the coffee sector is constructed and has put itself together, and I think about that story that I was telling in the last episode of that person who is talking about the very first nonprofit that the SCAA was involved in. And I come to realize like the roots of this are really dark, really, really dark, of this specialty coffee in inverted commas. And in my opinion, there's no evidence that I found of this yet, but in my opinion, there was a kind of weird structure that was laid as a foundation that got us here. Whether it was a grand design or not will be argued till the tale of time, but there's some evidence that's appearing to suggest that it is. And so when you look at that and you look at that we're already in a year like 2025, do you think that you're part of our industry, the development sector, do you think that you guys have a shot at surviving with all the chaos that's going on? Because I'm not sure that the coffee sector is going to survive, let alone the development part of the coffee sector. And people think I'm ridiculous for thinking that, but people don't put the bits of all of this together the same way that I get to see them through this podcast, right? Do you think that the development sector survives this, given everything that's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think equally as accused of like hyperbolic thinking, so I like not the person to disagree with you. I don't know, right? I mean, I with we saw, with this dismantling of USAID, like one day to the next, this kind of thing that has been set up could just be taken down entirely, right? And websites taken down and all the data that was on that websites, who knows where that is, right? And so
Mm.
um yeah, what I can say is that like the way that we kind of structure it is I look at, our budget year to year and I say, okay, I'm confident we can get through next year and that we can, we're going to have the funds and, be able to do a certain amount of work for next year. I don't feel confidence that I could do that for a 5-year plan. Um, I don't know what the
Mm.
industry is going to look like in 5 years. Part of that is my size as a nonprofit. I think that there are a lot of like larger organizations that would have the confidence in 5 years or 10 years, given who their funding and their funders are. In my case, that's we're, the kind of footing that we have. And it just things do feel very volatile. So um, that makes us maybe, again, to go back to this word that I don't like, makes us more resilient in that sense, right? Because
Mhm.
it's like, it's like I never, we're always like, scrappy. I never know what's going to happen next year.
Mhm.
But I do think that, things have really changed. I mean, the nonprofit sector adapts just like anyone adapts, but that adaptation, who knows what that's going to look like based on what, the kind of the world, brings. And so, yeah, I have seen so much adaptation in the development sector, um, as the private and public sectors adapts too. And so, I imagine some sort of project based work will survive in terms of how that looks. I mean, I don't know, right? Because it's going to be an impact of one thing to the other. I mean, this part of like the some of the goals of USAID, for example, unabashedly were, avoid migration, right, into the US. And if you are investing in coffee farmers to stay on their land and giving them just enough to survive and do that, which already was questionable, then there's less of a chance for those farmers to come, migrate to the US,
Mm.
right? Um, Now that's taken away. And again, it's like, well, who cares? We have quote unquote strong borders, so it doesn't matter, right? Like, what are they going to do now? I don't know. But there's, consequences of taking away these development funds that we don't see what they're going to be. But then okay, now you're going to have more fundraising for, immigrant communities. So there's just so many impacts, right, of this, of like this world, and you do one thing and it has another impact. And so, yeah, I don't know, will it survive in an adapted way? Probably. What will it look like? I honestly have no idea, and that's going to depend on what coffee looks like. Like I do think coffee will survive in some way as we know it. Coffee as we
Hmm.
know it. That's a different story. Yeah.
I feel that the way that coffee survives is similar to what's happening with um, most economic systems around the world. You're seeing a wealth transfer that's happening in the upwards direction. You know, the wealthy are getting wealthier, and the middle class is almost gutted out. And we're going to have more people pushed down. And I feel like that's going to be similar to the way that coffee is going to work. Do you agree? Is that how you see it working?
I mean, yeah, that is, I think, what's happening. I think what gets complicated is then, so like, yeah, because I see that in terms of more consolidation, right, of
Yep.
companies. So smaller companies are being, eaten up by the larger companies. And so that same
Hmm.
thing could happen to nonprofits. It just becomes impossible as a nonprofit for you to survive. And so you're sort of this larger, um, but then you have like all these people sort of in between, which are kind of the diminishing middle class, maybe, which are like the people that work for those companies, which are not the, CEO or the shareholder, but are the, you know, I don't know, traders, or the middle managers or things like that. And that's kind of like the last vestiges of it, maybe, and why I think people are like, no, there's still a middle class. But they, in terms of their loyalties and where they have to work, I think, the, yeah, that's diminishing, right? In terms of like small
Mm.
business is certainly diminishing, and so if that extends then to the coffee farming, side, you're going to see more land being bought up by large farmers, which, is going to happen if there is more migration and small farmers can't,
Hmm.
survive. So
It's
yeah,
happening now.
it is. Yeah.
This has been a really, really interesting series. I'm really, really grateful for everything that I've learned from you. As I said at the beginning of the episode, I'm walking away with this with more questions than I came into it. But I think they're smarter questions than what I came into this conversation. So forgive me for all of the naivety and the ignorance that I had. I hope that the next series I have some smarter questions than what I had in this series. Um, I want to ask you the last question that we ask every guest now. So, when the future version of you, hello to the future version of you that's watching this, but when she watches this, what do you hope for her?
Yeah. Goodness. Well, I mean, one thing I hope for is to maybe, stick by or not be like horrified by anything that I've said. I think that, there's the kind of internet, what you say on it never dies. And I think there are some things that I said earlier in my career that I, you know, my heart was in the right place, and maybe, was a little bit more naive than I am now. And so I know
That's
why
for
she's
all of us.
yeah, I know
Mm.
why she said that, but I'm like, ooh, maybe I wish I would have waited a few more years before I shared that and publicly, and it would have been more informed. So I hope that, but yeah, I think also, um, I think where I am now in my career, is that I feel like I've done some good things, right? And
Mm.
if we don't survive as a nonprofit, right, that's okay. I don't think that that's a failure. I think that
Yeah.
given the situation, businesses, nonprofits, they have sometimes they have to close, and that's okay. And so I think that I just, would like to still be in that place where no matter what happens, I just feel kind of, proud of what we've done. And I do hope that, it's not really for me, but that at least I do feel that our goals of pushing the sector towards more philanthropy as reparations, I don't think we've made a dent, to be honest with you. I wish I could say that we have. I think that the powers that be and the forces are so strong, but I guess I hope I'm wrong about that, right? And that there is
Right.
like some legacy of someone saying, well, I chose to do this because, of the Think Collaborative or whatever. But yeah, my my faith in humanity, as we know, is not the highest. So,
I'm right there with you though, lady. Trust me.
yeah.
I'm as cynical as you are about the future of all of this. If people are interested in contacting you and having a chat with you about the Chain Collaborative and maybe working with you guys, what's the best way that they can do that?
Well, they can email me. It's pretty simple, Nora@thechainccollaborative.org. We also have a contact page on our website, and that goes directly to me as well. So yeah, it's at thechainccollaborative.org. That's, I guess those are the easiest ways.
Instagram? Do you guys have Instagram?
We have Instagram. My colleague manages that, so
Okay.
yeah, but she'll forward it to me if you send a message there.
Great.
But you could follow us
Awesome.
there as well.
We will have links for everything in the show notes so that you guys can connect with the Chain Collaborative if you do want to connect with them. And I guess, let's do this again next year and see where the fuck we are, because I have no idea. I don't know if you know where this is going, but I have no idea where we're going to be in 12 months from now. But let's do this again sometime. Would you do me the honor of signing off our series for us, Nora?
I will. Thank you so much for having me, and peace, love, and peanut butter.
Have an amazing rest of your day, everyone. Bye.
This episode is part of a 5-part series produced by Mapper Forward. Check the full playlist and guest details in the show notes, as well as how you can support our work in the coffee industry. Become a premium YouTube subscriber, explore our Patreon and any brands we've partnered with to bring you this podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us grow our audience.